Clearphone. One question I get asked on a daily basis is Clearphone any good? Well, I did a video yesterday talking about Amazon's new Skynet program known as Sidewalk, the family-friendly name. Hey, it's just a sidewalk where Amazon literally got your consent to spy on you with all of your devices. If you have not seen that video, I strongly recommend you check it out. I'll link it up here in the cards. But it's the new Amazon Skynet Sidewalk program. It is a literal invasion on everyone's privacy and, in my opinion, everyone's rights. So we're talking about Clearphone. That's supposed to be the polar opposite, right? We're not talking about Amazon. We're talking about Clearphone. Well, is it any good? Well, kind of. So here's the thing with Clearphone. On paper, is Clearphone better than Apple? Sure. Android? Absolutely. Most things? Absolutely. I actually quoted Clearphone in my last video. It says, the big print giveth, the small print taketh away. Again, what that means, marketing and advertising, they're going to hype you up on something, and then, you know, when you actually get it, the little print tells you all you give up to get it. Again, if something's free, you are the product. You are the product. No matter what. Here on YouTube, here on Odyssey. If you haven't checked me out on odyssey.com, go check me out over there as well. Got a lot of videos over there, so check out Odyssey, check out YouTube. But at the end of the day, you're the product and everything you use that is free. So when you look at Clearphone and you think, well, this is a cool idea. You've got a concept where they don't track you. They don't even make you log in using your socials. They, you know, a lot of the privacy features that us on social media talk about when we talk about privacy, myself and some of these other content creators who talk about privacy, a lot of things we talk about doing on things like our Apple iPhones, things like our Android phones when we use Graphene OS or even like Linux phones. We talk about a lot of this stuff. Now, I gotta be honest, I've basically lost trust for almost every tech company. I see them all as virtually the same. Clearphone sells a good bag of goods, and Linux is another one that sells some really good ideas and a good bag of potential. But is it actually any good? Well, that is debatable. Now, what is the best option? Well, we're going to talk about the best option, so buckle up and make sure you stay to the end because we're going to break down what's better than Clearphone and what you could be looking at if you want a better option. Would I recommend Clearphone? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've experimented with this. I've talked to actual people who use it. I don't use it. And I've talked about why I don't use it. I've talked in great length about burner phones and my phone system, so you can check out those videos. I'm not going to rehash all that here. That's a totally separate video. I don't use Clearphone. I don't have any big problems with Clearphone. Would I recommend it over almost any other phone? Yeah. I mean, Linux is really going the way that I like to see. And when you look at smartphones in general, the problem is these companies. So some people say, well, it's not really the company because you can get an Android, and some Androids you can do Graphene OS. And so it's ironic that you've got a Google product, but you've put Graphene OS, and now you've got one of the best phones out there, right? A lot of people hype up Graphene OS. I've used Graphene OS. I have a phone with it. Is it good? Yeah, it's great. Would I recommend it? Sure. But here's the thing. The best option is open source. You know, when you look at Linux products, you look at open source. So you might remember, but a couple of years ago, Red, the really expensive camera company. You see a lot of big YouTubers like MKBHD use Red cameras. Really nice cameras, really expensive, great cameras, great video quality. Red came out with a phone, a smartphone, and there was a few other companies at the same time that were coming out with smartphones. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, because they talked about modular. I personally think the future of privacy phones is modular, okay? Not Clear, not Graphene, not BlackBerry, definitely not iPhone, certainly not Android. Modular. Now, what do I mean by modular? Well, here's the thing. As soon as a company gets this right, they will have the best phone in the world and they will literally take market share from everyone just out of sheer interest. But then privacy advocates will go there because we need something that's modular and open source. Whenever you have, and there's a few Linux phones that have been close. Whenever you have something that's modular, it's kind of like if you were going to build a car, right? You can pick whatever parts you want. You can put in this engine and this frame and this body and this whatever. Or if you're going to build, you know, anything, right? You can pick and choose and put it together. Well, a couple companies a few years ago experimented with what if you could change out the memory? What if you could change it? So they started with simple things, okay? Keep in mind, this is very simple. It's a base level core concept. What if you could change out the memory? What if you could change out the camera? What if you could change out the speaker? What if you could change out a lot of different little features? But then we start thinking, well, what if we could structure it to where I could take the camera on and off? Or I could take the microphone on and off when I want to use it? Or what if I could structure it as far as privacy-based, structure the entire OS, right? If we have an open source OS. Or what if I want to structure it for a specific feature? And, you know, I remember when I was in my early 20s, I had one of those Nextels. Those were really cool, and there's a couple phones that look bringing that service back because at close range, more secure, and as far as you're not going to have the logs, right? So Nextel, could somebody tap in? Yeah, but is it going to be logged? No, unless they're manually trying to log it. So you give and take on all fronts. And so what if you could put this together, right? What if you could start to have a modular open source phone? Well, part of the problem is it's expensive, right? It's expensive to compete with these other companies. And they don't want to let you have open source or modular. They want to tell you what they want you to have, and they want you to have that. Steve Jobs famously said, customer doesn't know what they want until you show them. Maybe he was right, and I'm cool with that on design. In all fairness, Apple's come up with some cool designs over the years, and they were far ahead of other tech companies on design. You got to give them credit, especially back in the early 2000s when Amazon and Google and Apple and Microsoft, well, Microsoft's already pretty established, but they were all kind of coming up as fast as they can, and you look at the design that they were trying to do, device-wise. Awesome. But when it comes to usability, the customer should have more control. The customer should be able to control their device. I like how Louis Rossmann, who's a big tech YouTuber, has been fighting for right to repair. Because literally, you don't even have the right to repair your own devices in most cases, and Louis Rossmann was fighting for right to repair. The great thing about right to repair is it's a gateway to right to do whatever you want with your own device. The problem is we only have a couple key companies, and Microsoft is a literal joke. If Microsoft had a phone, it would go out of business. Oh wait, they did have a phone and it went out of business because Microsoft sucks. So you've only got a couple of companies, and so you've got to be able to make do with what you've got, and that's a serious issue. Well, when you look at all the phones available, and you look at the best option, that there's no one clear, no pun intended, best option, because it depends on what you're trying to do. And believe it or not, as much as privacy is right and it's right that needs to be protected, we talk about that here on privacyxproject.com. You can check it out. Also, there's a time and place for specific devices, and you need to keep that in mind as well. So as long as they're used properly, they can have a lot of value, and that's pretty serious. But is Clear a good option? Yeah. Is it a better option than most? In my opinion, yeah. But I'm kind of looking ahead of where we need to be. I mean, the iPhone, I buy every iPhone. For my business phone, I've talked about how I have 4 phones. Okay, I've broken this down. I've talked about burner phones, business phones, travel phones. I've talked about all this stuff, okay? I firmly believe that we're at a place now where we need to take a step forward. I mean, the iPhone 13 Pro is getting ready to come out. When the first picture I saw, I was like, oh, no, they accidentally put the 12 Pro, which I already have. No, it's just, it takes them 2 to 3 years to get a new phone, but they have to put a new one out every year because that's where we are for some reason. And so they put out the same phone with like a couple of, oh, it's got less bezels or less chin. Most people don't even know what that means. Oh, it's got a better chip. No, it doesn't. You haven't seen a change in performance in like 4 iterations. These things are so fast now that eitherwise you notice a glitch or you don't. Eitherwise it crashes or it doesn't. The average person has no idea about the screen and the display. You're talking about a small phone display. Most people couldn't tell the difference between 4K and 720. They have no idea because it's not true to form anyway because the screen's only this big. In this range. So instead of focusing on things that don't matter to people's usability and privacy, and I know the average company is never going to care about privacy. Some of these companies like Amazon pretended for years until they just released their Skynet. Apple pretends to care about privacy, and they go on the media and talk about how we're so big on your privacy, and they stab you in the back every single time. And I know, because I've been a loyal Apple customer for a long time and spent more money than I care to recall on Apple products. The products are really expensive, and I buy them for business purposes. But for privacy, I mean, I've got to spend an hour every time I buy an Apple device just trying to get it to a point where it's semi-private, because the stock formula is horrid. So that's where I am with these things. As far as should you use Clearphone, again, I think it's a good option. I think you'd be happy with it. But I'm keeping my eye on, we need to have modular phones. We need to have open source. And I think eventually there's going to be a company that realizes, look, if I just stay out of people's business and provide them with a good product, I just make boatloads of money. And Apple's been around for just so long that they don't get excited about little things anymore. If we get a young company, entrepreneur coming up that's like, hey, we're going to focus on this piece, this component, like Red was trying to do, and like 3 or 4 other companies have been trying to do. So this isn't just a pie in the sky thing. Companies are trying to work on it. They're just not there yet. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up, put out new videos every single day here on PrivacyX. Go check out privacyxproject.com, and I will see you guys in the next video.